Sunday, June 29. God's people in Egypt. The book of Exodus is called in Hebrew Shemot, that's S-H-E-M-O-T, literally names in English, according to the opening words of that ancient document. And these are the names, is how it begins. The names of the patriarch Jacob's family are enumerated right at the start. Read Exodus chapter 1, verses 1 to 7. What crucial truth is found here? Exodus chapter 1, beginning at verse 1. Now, these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Egypt. Each man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All those who were descendants of Jacob were 70 persons, for Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, all his brothers, and all that generation. But the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, multiplied, and grew exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. The book of Exodus begins with a reminder of God's blessing. When the patriarch Jacob and his family settled in Egypt, they were only 70 people, as you read in Genesis chapter 46 and verse 27. And the sons of Joseph who were born to him in Egypt were 2 persons. All the persons of the house of Jacob who went to Egypt were 70. And in Exodus chapter 1 and verse 5, all those who were descendants of Jacob were 70 persons, for Joseph was in Egypt already. But the Israelites were, as it says in verse 7, fruitful and increased abundantly, multiplied and grew exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. By the time of the Exodus, however, they counted about 600,000 men on foot, besides children, as we read in Exodus 12, verse 37. The full verse reads, Then the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, besides children. Read Exodus chapter 1, verses 8 to 11. What was the situation of the Israelites at the time of the Exodus? Now there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, Look, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply. And it happen, in the event of war, that they also join our enemies and fight against us. And so go up out of the land. Therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Ramses. The biblical text paints the story of the children of Israel in Egypt in dark colours. The book of Exodus begins with their enslavement by Egyptian taskmasters and the oppressive labour that they imposed upon the Hebrews. The book of Exodus ends, however, with God's peaceful and comforting presence in the tabernacle, at the centre of the Israelite camp. And we read about that in Exodus chapter 40, and we'll study that in one of our later lessons. In between these two opposite poles, God's triumph is described. By the Lord's liberating his people from the slavery, by his opening the Red Sea, and by his defeating the strongest army of that time, God's spectacular victory over the forces of evil is revealed. The story paradoxically stresses that the more the oppressors afflicted them, that's the Israelites, the more they multiplied and grew. And that's from Exodus 1 verse 12, which fully reads, But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were in dread of the children of Israel. That is, no matter the human machinations, God is still sovereign and will save his people, even if circumstances appear hopeless, at least from a human perspective. And so, to finish today, a new king arose who knew not Joseph. What does this account tell us about how we should never take circumstances, especially good ones, for granted?
Sunday, June 29. God's people in Egypt. The purpose which God seeks to accomplish through his people today is the same that he desired to accomplish through Israel when he brought them forth out of Egypt. By beholding the goodness, the mercy, the justice, and the love of God revealed in the church, the world is to have a representation of his character. And when the law of God is thus exemplified in the life, even the world will recognize the superiority of those who love and fear and serve God above every other people on the earth. The Lord has his eye upon every one of his people. He has his plans concerning each. It is his purpose that those who practice his holy precepts shall be a distinguished people. To the people of God today, as well as to ancient Israel, belong the words written by Moses through the spirit of inspiration. Thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. Testimonies for the Church, volume 6, page 12. When he saw that his end was near, he summoned his kinsmen about him. Honored as he had been in the land of the Pharaohs, Egypt was to him but the place of his exile. His last act was to signify that his lot was cast with Israel. His last words were, God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land unto the land which he sware to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And he took a solemn oath of the children of Israel that they would carry up his bones with them to the land of Canaan. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. And through the centuries of toil which followed, the coffin, a reminder of the dying words of Joseph, testified to Israel that they were only sojourners in Egypt, and bade them keep their hopes fixed upon the land of promise, for the time of deliverance would surely come. Patriarchs and Prophets, page 240. The descendants of Abraham, Jacob, and his posterity were brought down to Egypt, that in the midst of that great and wicked nation they might reveal the principles of God's kingdom. The integrity of Joseph and his wonderful work in preserving the lives of the whole Egyptian people were a representation of the life of Christ. Moses and many others were witnesses for God. In bringing forth Israel from Egypt, the Lord again manifested his power and his mercy. His wonderful works in their deliverance from bondage and his dealings with them in their travels through the wilderness were not for their benefit alone. These were to be as an object lesson to the surrounding nations. The Lord revealed himself as a God above all human authority and greatness. Christ's Object Lessons, page 286.
And remember, God is always faithful.